and welcome to Nafplio, on the Peloponnese peninsula of Greece, and said by many to be among the most lovely of Greece's Mediterranean cities. It's a charming place, very scenic with coast and mountains, very historic as a one-time former provisional capital of Greece, and a jumping-off place for gorgeous valleys of citrus and olive groves, not to mention some fantastic ruins. So let's start exploring this place. The old quarter of town juts out on a peninsula from the rest of the city, and it's really a special place. Owing to the Venetian and Ottoman influences here over the centuries, it's its own kind of architecture. But Nafplio's beauty is also owing to something else. Through the efforts of a prominent architect here in the 1940s, the city was spared the kind of modernization post-World War II that many cities in Greece underwent. And the result is really a blessing.
Nafplio is a city of fortresses, including Nafplio, where people still live, Palamidi Castle, the grandest, which appears down from a high hilltop, and this one, Burzi, in the city's harbor.
Burzi has its own interesting story. In 1821, it was turned into a residence for executioners at the notorious prison located within Palamidi's castle, maybe because it was the only place they felt safe living among relatives of those they'd helped put to death. The fort was even a hotel between 1930 and 1970. Today, it's home to an important summer music festival, besides serving year-round as a decoration for Nafplio's gorgeous harbor. The oldest of the forts this town is famous for is Nafplio, built in the 1300s and predating Palamidi's castle by 4 centuries. It constitutes the oldest part of Nafplio because during medieval times the town was located within the fort for its protection. Part of this fort was a modern prison until the mid-part of the 20th century, until Nafplio's leaders decided that it could be better put to use for tourist purposes. But some might question what they allowed to happen. That is, build a modern hotel that's now closed and graffiti covered, and quite honestly is a blight on the community. That is not to suggest that the fort isn't incredibly impressive. In fact, to experience it, rather than climb it, I'd recommend walking around it from the side facing the sea. The wide stone promenade clinging to the rocky shoreline looking out on the Mediterranean is a hike not to be missed if you come here. I would certainly say that this promenade is a bit underrated. You think of all the times when you're traveling where you just give anything for a nice place to sit down, especially in urban environments. And yet here I am walking along this promenade along the Mediterranean, and there are not one but two benches in sort of the middle of nowhere, just me and two cats. And this is what I'm treated to. I mean, seriously, does it get any better than this? I don't know if you can tell, but in addition to everything else, this place is sound therapy. Just the waves breaking against the rocks below. Tranquility base. I really wouldn't have expected so much here. In fact, I didn't expect this market at all. I just came upon it this morning. And of course, a market that has everything would not be complete along the Mediterranean without plenty of fresh fish. So a little unexpected treat here as I begin my day, but to stay focused, I'm on my way to climb Palamidi's hill to the fort. Although I confess to a great love of history, my love of history is not the reason I'm climbing these steps. Not primarily, at least. But rather it's for the spectacular views, which already are spectacular and promise to be even more so as I get to the top. There are two ways to get to Palamidi Fortress. One is by road. You can pay a taxi 10 euros to take you up there if you are not renting a car. And the other is the way I'm going, by virtue of the so-called 999 steps to the fortress. Now, to be clear, there are not exactly 999 steps. There are a few less than that to get to the base of the fortress, and quite a few more to get to the top of it. So really, all we can say is there are enough steps. And I think at this point I'm probably somewhere around step number 400. But I assure you, I'm not counting. Well, I've technically come inside the fort, although there's a long climb ahead. I'm at the first of 8 bastions, sections of the fort that could be defended individually, and if one fell, the others who were not yet taken could continue to defend the fort. So I've made it to the top, sort of. There's further heights to ascend within the fort. It wasn't as strenuous as I thought it would be, quite frankly. Anyone who's reasonably physically fit can make this climb, but boy, is it worth it. The views from here are splendid. The Venetians, who are responsible for this fantastic fortress, already had a fort on the next hill since the 1300s, but sensing an increase in urgency against a potential Ottoman aggression, they decided in 1711 to build Palamidi's fortress. And incredibly, they completed it in just over 3 years. And for their labor, what happened was the Ottomans took it anyway in 1715. I'm here in the central bastion, which was the fort's headquarters and the site of its heaviest defenses. It's also the site of a chapel that is of importance to Greek history. The Greeks took this fort in 1822, and it occurred on the night of November 30th. The first thing the conquerors are said to have done was to have given thanks inside this chapel. And ever since then, on November 30th of each year, a special service is held to commemorate the triumph. The fortifications at this place are just incredible. It sort of makes you think of, well, the people who had to take this fort rather than defend it, how seemingly against all odds it would be, and yet it was done on several occasions. Looks like the protective cover was taken off this door to this guard tower, so I see no reason why I shouldn't try to step inside, if for no other reason, simply because it's here. And I am here, and of course it's nothing but rubble and stones laying around on the floor, very high ceiling. But I'll try to swing up and let you see the ceiling. And I don't know if you can really determine on the view since it's so dark in here, but it's a vaulted ceiling that's incredible. It must be 40 feet to the top. Just an amazing stone structure. One of numerous ones that are here at one time protected this castle. And of course, just outside the door you have this. I would say an order to storm the castle would not be greeted with great enthusiasm.
So I've identified a place to eat, but not yet. Not when there's a sunset over a Mediterranean harbor with boats bobbing in the water and a castle in the middle of it.